Welcome back to episode 18 of the Tech Lounge, and I am joined here by Kev. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Brian. How about you?
Yeah, pretty busy. Been pretty busy and pretty crazy as well. The internet had real big problems yesterday. So
Yeah. Do you want to sort of explain to the fans why we're a day late?
yeah, so I was late. I was late, a little bit late to begin with, but then after that, we were getting the show on track, and my internet just crapped out. So yeah, that was that. And then I spent all like half of yesterday calling them up, and I was like, okay, can I get this done, and can you get my internet back, please? And they were like, okay, we can do that. So finally, it came back up like probably about 5 p.m. So yeah, that's Australian internet for you, man. It's pretty bad. It is pretty bad. People in Oz will attest to that. They'll know that it can get pretty
Yeah.
bad. So, and it always happens to happen on a Monday as well. Like, I don't know what it is. So,
No, it's just
but
the timing.
how about yourself? How about yourself, dude? What's been going on?
Not much, man. Just I went through the 1080 Ti testing. Did that showdown. That was really fun. We'll be talking about 1080 Ti, but more in this episode. And yeah, and looking forward to. I'll be doing some more Ryzen testing soon. Different motherboard, higher speed memory, and a few other changes there. So I sort of want to revisit it again and test it with a few different things out there and see how much of a difference it actually makes. So I think that'll be really fun. Also, do you have any plans to do any Ryzen retesting
Yeah,
anytime soon?
definitely. I'm just gonna wait for the official word kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like the once the updates have been applied, where SMT is giving the same results as SMT off. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
once that flows through, that's when I think I'll do my retesting, because you don't want to have to disable SMT, and I don't want to put up, like, I don't want to deal with comments like disable SMT and disable this and re-enable this. It's just like, no,
Yeah.
if you're buying this product, you shouldn't have to do that anyway out of the box. So yeah,
Exactly.
so I've been waiting for a retest as well. I'm still going to do the overclocking tutorial. I actually just got the ASRock Tai Chi in as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing a whole. Actually, I might even change over my whole works. I did promise my viewers as well, and we just got 180k subs too, guys. Thank you guys so much. That's awesome. I'm going to be giving away my 1700X that I got for a review. So you guys,
Sweet.
yeah. So someone's going to be getting that because I don't need it.
Yeah.
I'll be getting another Ryzen CPU in too. So might as well give it away to the viewers, man. The guys who support me. You guys, awesome. Thanks you guys so much. So we
Yeah.
just hit 180k. And I will hopefully, ASRock, that's why I'm talking at the moment to get a big giveaway going, so we can give away a whole system, a Ryzen, and maybe I think Sapphire are maybe even interested in joining, so they'll be getting a graphics card, new CPU, everything. So that'll be huge. I'm looking forward to. I'm working on that. Like, don't push me to it, but like I'm working on getting all the stuff organized. So that'll be awesome. Someone's gonna be a winner. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, I mean that's the whole thing I try to do with my channel every so often as well, is give back to the fans, because I mean they're the ones who support you. So I think it's only right that if you have spare tech parts and stuff like that, you send them out to them, because they're the
Oh
ones
yeah.
that got you to where you are.
Well, they're the guys that put you there. Exactly. Without viewers,
Yeah.
man, we're nothing. We're not even a channel. Like, I wouldn't even be making content. So, yeah, you
Yeah.
take care of your viewers. They got your back. I know my viewers have got my back, man. They're awesome, especially with all the recent stuff going on. So, thank you guys. No, thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. So, so many nice comments as well. Really loving it. So that's that. We've got the giveaway coming, and also the tuning guide. I will do the Ryzen tuning guide once I want to get the other CPU in, which is coming in this week, and then I want to test and see how that overclocks. And I'm hoping for 4 gigahertz. So if I can get that to 4 gigahertz, then I can talk about it a little bit, because I would have had one that goes up to 3.85, 4 gigahertz. I can kind of find those sweet spot settings and just recommend them to people. Like, okay,
Yeah.
here's the settings that are kind of going to be guaranteed, and then from here we can go from here, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
yeah, man. So, anything? Because I got to let you talk more.
No. No. I was just reading through the chat. Everyone was talking a little bit about the Rise of the Tomb Raider. benchmark since a few people out there have been saying that that benchmark is inconsistent. I was going to make a whole video on that topic, but I decided not to because I didn't really want to right now. But from my own testing, I ran the Rise of the Tomb Raider benchmark 3 or 4 times with the same resolution, all the same settings, to see how much discrepancies there were between the different benchmarks. And honestly, it's at 1080p with a 1080, you see maybe 2 or 3 frame discrepancy each time. It's not much, right? Yeah. It's very, very minor. So I don't know why people are saying that the Rise of the Tomb Raider benchmark has big discrepancies in it. I spoke to Steve from Hardware Unboxed, and he confirmed it with me that, and you can probably confirm it as well, Brian, that it tends to be very consistent. We don't run benchmarks usually if they give very inconsistent results. Is one of the first things you check when you go to add a benchmark to your benchmarking suite for your different videos, is that you check that it's consistent. It's why I don't run a GTA 5, because in my testing I found it to be a little bit inconsistent. At least the CAN benchmark in GTA 5 was. But the Rise of the Tomb Raider one seemed fine. 1080p, 1440p, 4K, high settings, low settings, seemed pretty consistent to me. I mean, I didn't find anything wrong with it. So I don't know what other people are complaining about.
Yeah, I was hitting 2% variance. That's how I averaged it on the Rise of the Tomb Raider. That's very acceptable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I would agree with that. So I don't know. People claiming there was like a 10% difference. I don't know what you guys are doing, but I've never seen that. So, I wouldn't have added it to my benchmarking suite if I saw that much discrepancy.
They're just cooking bacon, on their computer. The temperature's going up. We got some variance here, y'all.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing to note. But on that note, should we talk about this AMD community update? This is very new, very, very hot topic to talk about. So basically, all you guys need to take from this article is it goes into the thread scheduling. So this is, you right, bro?
Just this coffee's too good. Drinking out of Jar Jar. Jar Jar's good stuff.
Yeah. Jar Jar's good stuff, eh? Yeah. So basically, the Windows scheduler, people were saying that the reason why Ryzen was having trouble was because of the scheduler. And PC Perspective ran an article saying that basically that is not correct from their testing. And now AMD have, in this latest community update, have also said that AMD believes that the Windows 10 scheduler is operating properly for Zen, and we do not presently believe there is an issue with the scheduler adversely utilizing the logical and physical configurations of the architecture. And they go on to say the performance deltas between Windows 7 and Windows 10 on AMD Ryzen, basically they're saying that's nothing to do with the scheduler, and that that is to do with the software architecture differences between those two operating systems. So what we take from that, and well, maybe you want to say, Brian, because this was something you actually called a while back in the PC Perspective article, which is the same as what we were just talking about with the scheduler. There were 2 graphs they did, which were the ping times between the logical cores of the 5960X, so the Haswell E CPU, and the Ryzen 1800X. And something Brian said a while back was that it seems like a dual CPU. So do you want to elaborate a bit more on that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was actually really cool because one guy who was insulting me, he came back and apologized, man. And that's all good. Like, I really appreciate that. It takes a real man just to, say, hey, made a mistake. I'm sorry. That's like, that was really cool. I really, but there was other people, who called me a freaking idiot, blah, blah, blah. Biggest, D head on the planet. You don't know what you're talking about. I mean, guys, it's like, it was just me using this, me taking a look at things and just giving an opinion, whether it was right or wrong. And I mean, in hindsight, it was right. Whether my opinion was right or wrong, it's like, you don't have to bash me for having an opinion. Like, isn't that how we grow as a community? People have
Yeah.
opinions, and then things get tested, and then yeah. So anyway, that aside, we can see here that there is indeed two different die on that PCB, or on that little CPU that's going into the socket. And of course, the Xeon example was exaggerated. It was, of course, massively exaggerated, but
Yeah.
the principle's still there. You got two separate die, and they have to crosstalk. They have to communicate with each other, and so that creates latency, and it creates a problem. And that's a problem for gamers, especially for gamers. Productivity, you're not going to notice it. In productivity, that's where Xeons shine as well. Xeons do extremely well in productivity. Especially the programs that can take advantage of all the threads. And so you've got this dilemma where you've got productivity versus gaming, where gaming needs that real, on the fly. Things are constantly changing. There's always, varying workloads when it comes to gaming. So this kind of latency, it could be a problem. I mean, it could be a problem. That's what I was just cautioning. How is it going to spell out in 2 months' time? Can they get the optimizations fully up to par? Can they really, really nail it? That remains to be seen. We can't say that as a definite because I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you probably don't know either. Can we say that as a definite?
No, we can't. There's still a lot up in the air right now. But the other thing to mention is looking at the latency. Look at the difference there. When it's cross-talking, obviously we see it jump up quite a bit. But look at it just normally compared to the 5960X when it's just the physical and logical cores. That is quite the drop down from 80 to that's hovering like for about 40. It looks like.
Yeah. So it looks fantastic. If you were to disable one of these CCX units, just have 4 cores, that'd be fantastic. That'd be really good for gamers. I think gamers are really looking forward to that 4-core. And I guess that's the biggest question. I don't know. I mean, are they going to disable 2 cores on each of the die, or are they going to just release 1 die on a PCB? What are they going to do with the Ryzen R3 CPUs? That remains to be seen. Really interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you're looking forward to it too, Kev.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's all. I mean, as Brian said before, it's all a bit up in the air right now, so we just have to see. But what we can say from taking from what AMD themselves have said, they are saying that the Windows scheduler is not the problem, and based off the PC Perspective article as well, everyone running to that saying that is the big problem. It doesn't appear to be, and AMD themselves are saying that is not an issue. But further on in the AMD article, we see the temperature reporting. So this was something that caught a lot of us by surprise, and this explains it quite well. So basically, the reported temperature oftentimes is higher. Well, they're saying is higher by 20 degrees than what the true junction temp actually is. So you see reported 58 and the true 38. And that is because of the offset for the fans, which is quite the interesting. I was quite surprised that they did that. And I was also surprised that, maybe I just wasn't reading around enough before it, but I thought I tried to learn as much as I could about Ryzen before I did all my videos and that. And I didn't find this information anywhere. Did you, Brian? Were you aware of this temperature?
Nah. The good thing is, the great thing about it is, look at the R17-1700. It's got no problems again. I mean, so the R17-1700, you get just as good overclocks. This is from what we're seeing. You get a included heatsink with it, bonus, and you get proper temperature reporting. I mean, what's the point of buying an 1800 or a 1700X?
Yeah, I mean,
unless you're a turbo noob.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the point I was just about to make. So, I said that in my video. You guys should just go for the 1700. But then people came back to me and said, Kevin, not everybody overclocks, and so for those people, yeah, sure, maybe look towards those ones. But even then, honestly, you'd have to weigh up: is it really worth it for just that extra clock speed? Even if you don't want to overclock, you'd have to judge that for yourself. But yeah, so basically it raises the temperatures up, which I mean, you could make the jump to saying that KB Lake has brought this upon them because obviously with such higher temperatures, fans are going to be, fan curves from default will be a lot higher, and maybe they did it for that reason. But yeah, I don't think it's. This is just a funny little thing that I thought was quite interesting. So if you have a 1700X, 1800X, and you've been doing stress tests and stuff, and going like, wow, why are these temps so damn high?
Yeah,
That there is an offset for it, and that's why if you have a 1700, there is no offset. So whatever temp you're seeing is the temp you're getting. That is the true temperature. So
yeah. Well,
that's quite interesting.
that's what they're saying. They're saying T control's differing from T junction, and T junction's the true
Yeah.
temp. So you have to go with what
Yeah.
that says. I mean, in Hardware Monitor, I was getting what looked around about right for temperatures, because AMD temperatures are usually lower than Intel CPUs, just the way they report them. So, yeah, I mean, you got to factor that into account. So have they done that again? So also the interesting thing is with the power plans. Oh, we got Super Chat on too. I think we got a $5 donation. Thank you very much. That was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. He was asking about the Jar Jar cup.
Oh, okay. What did he say about the Jar Jar? Here's the Jar Jar. I'll show you the Jar Jar.
I just saw something about Jar Jar. So.
Okay. Well, Jar Jar, guys, if you donate money, I'll put it towards Jar Jar. We'll get him some bling. I'll get him some RGB LEDs. I'm serious. So yeah, they've got the power plan here. They recommend turning it on high performance power. I mean, that's out of the gate. That's how you should be running Ryzen. The balance. When I was doing my testing, I turned it on high performance straight away. So yeah, apparently it turns off core parking and stuff like that. So
I did that. Yeah, I think most of us do that automatically for any PC, anyways. Where it was Intel, AMD, I always would put it on high performance, especially when I do gaming laptops. You would notice a bit there. But yeah, you're right. Just the core parking, which everyone knew about, but maybe the fast frequency change. Maybe a few people didn't know about that as well.
Well, I like to manually overclock in the P state, so I'm going to bring out a guide that's really that raw manual overclocking, and it's still going to have downclocking and power savings as well. So I'm getting to the bottom of that. It seems pretty similar actually to AM3 in one respect, and I'll talk about that in the guide. There is a similarity there for sure. But yeah, that's that, guys. And then there's this article here from PC Perspective, which is really cool. Like, I really like some of the in-depth testing they're talking about, and they basically go on to say that the scheduler is actually fine already in Windows 10. Which I mean, I'm wondering, because when you turn off SMT, you do get legit gains in some games. So
yeah, well, that's what they said at the bottom of the AMD blog. They were saying that generally you should see a neutral or positive benefit from SMT. We see this neutral positive behavior in a wide range of titles, including Arma 3, Battlefield 1, Mafia 3, Watch Dogs 2, Civ 6, For Honor, Hitman, Mirror's Edge, KLS, The Division, and a few other ones. And they said for the remaining outliers, AMD again sees multiple opportunities within the code bases of specific applications to improve how the software addresses Zen architecture. So basically, they're saying they want to improve the game's understanding of the core and the cache topology. So that's really good. So this is something they are aware of, and SMT in the future, you definitely won't want to disable, because they're saying it should either be exactly the same with SMT on or SMT off, or the game should perform better with SMT on, which makes sense because as myself and Brian have said, it makes no sense if you're a guy doing productivity and gaming. You're not going to turn off SMT, go play your games, restart your computer, turn it back on, edit your video, restart it again, turn it off, and then go back and play some more games or something. So it makes no sense.
Well, you've got to restart it twice, right? Well, the thing is, you got to restart it twice. You got to restart, disable SMT, restart again, and then it's just a complete waste of time. It's just an absolute waste of time. So basically, in the article in PC Perspective, they said that it is appearing to act more like a two-socket system, so like a non-uniform memory access. So
to a degree,
and that's to a degree, exactly. So how their new Infinity fabric works compared to Intel's dual-socket systems, for example, remains to be seen. But it's still it doesn't matter as long as, again, and this is the thing, right? as long as the real world performance is there, like, okay, it doesn't matter what design they're going with. If people can get smooth, good frame rates out of these CPUs in games and they can do their productivity, that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and Ryzen's looking like it's already doing a pretty good job of that, especially the R7 1700. I mean, for $329, incredible value for money. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that or whatever, or And sure, the 7700K is beating it at the moment in a majority of titles, but again, the R7 1700 is a really good CPU, and I don't think anyone's going to argue that, or I'd like to know who would argue that, because it's doing really well in productivity and it's kicking ass. So what's there not to like? And gaming, it's doing really well too. It's just that it's not as fast as the 7700K, that's all. And that's
all the 7600, yeah, but it was what we predicted, is that Intel, with the fewer cores and very fast quad cores, which is something they've been doing for a long time, guys. Like, think back to way back. I think they realized they struck gold many years ago with that sort of design in terms of what works well for gaming. So of course that's going to be good. And as I said in my video, if you're just purely going to be gaming, you're not going to be doing any productivity whatsoever, then you're probably going to be best off. As of right now, things will always change in the future, but we have to talk about right now, guys. The 7600K is still solid. It's cheaper than 1700. Hey, maybe these hexa-core and quad-core Ryzen chips will change that, but as of right now, the 7600 would be the one to go for if you are pure gamer.
I'd say competitive gamer. That's about it. Like, I'd say even if you're a gamer, you choose. You know what I mean? I'd say for competitive gamers, like people who really need the blistering edge, highest frame rates possible, you'd want to go with the Kaby Lake CPU. But other than that, I'd say the majority of gamers might want to think about going with the R7 1700. It's a great proposition.
I mean, it's more expensive here by like $200, so it's sort of a harder pill to swallow, although that kind of is offset maybe a little bit with the motherboard's choices. But if you're someone who does productivity and games, then 100% go towards Ryzen, because you'll get a hell of a deal. And if you're just doing you just have a workstation, then again, I go towards Ryzen as well, and get yourself a good like a 1700, and that'll be absolutely excellent for all your workstation stuff. All of our productivity testing has shown it to be all the channels out there. When you look at the productivity scores, they're phenomenal in terms of value for money. So yeah, if you're building a workstation anytime soon, guys, then yeah, you definitely want to be looking at Ryzen, because you'll do very well from a value for money perspective, especially if you're a small business owner and you have to buy quite a few of them. I would definitely go towards that, save the money over Broadwell E.
What would you pick, Jar Jar? Me, I think the AMD.
Oh God, if my ears could puke, man.
He wants to go with a Ryzen CPU, bro. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's what he wants.
It is really good, and it will get better. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the other ones. Yeah,
and that's that argument as well. Like the 7700K is beating the Broadwell E lineup as well. So that's the thing, right?
Of course.
Again, we got to wait for those R3 and R5 CPUs to really have a look at that only gaming segment for CPU recommendations. So I
think the 1600X will still kind of hit on that, because I mean, remember the 6800K and 6850K are 6-core, made for sort of workstation or partly workstation use, and they've been quite good. So I think maybe those 6-core Ryzen 5s might do the same sort of job, like just cheaper. Yeah. If someone's wanting a real cheap sort of workstation chip, then they could go towards them as well.
Well, I pulled up an article here from OC3D, and they're saying that, all the SKUs are going to be overclockable, which is great, but the Ryzen R5s will be released in Q2 2017. So we're not really sure on the R3 yet, which a lot of people are looking out for too. So R5 and R3 are looking like there's a lot of eyes on those CPUs, and so I'm really looking forward to that. So the price is still kind of the exact pricing still kind of remains seen, but Damn, man, the UK, you guys get ripped, eh? £319 for a R7 1700, and it's like 329 USD. Poor guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty rough, eh? Yeah, I think that would be my prediction right now, is that I think the Ryzen 5s, the 6 cores, will um, fill a similar sort of void that the Ryzen 7s do in the workstation and gaming thing, and the Ryzen 3s will be very much aimed at gaming. But from what I've seen so far, it's looking pretty good. They're yeah, looking pretty good. The 1600X against things like the 6850K in multi-threading tests.
Yeah, but I still think that's an invalid comparison, though. I will point that out. They're comparing it to a 6850K. Let's not ignore the 6800K, which is much cheaper than a 6850K, and it's got 28 PCIe lanes versus 24. That's a much more valid comparison. I don't know why they're comparing it to a 68. Yeah. No, there's no reason to compare it to a 6850K. People who buy that CPU want those extra PCIe lanes. End of story. So I think when I saw that comparison, I was kind of scratching my head. I'm like, come on, guys, that's a bit, bit biased in that comparison. Yeah. So yeah, the 6800K
it is a little bit,
and the 6800K is still a pretty decent CPU. Like, the 6800K was that sort of balance between workstation and gaming. It has. I've got one now running in my main rig. It's 4.2 gigahertz stable, 24/7. Thing is really good. It's a really good CPU. The Ryzen would be better. The R7 1700 would be better for productivity, but for gaming, this thing edges it out. So.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. So it is a good point to make. But I will be quite interested in here in New Zealand. There's already a $200 price difference between the 6800K and the R7 1700.
Really?
Yeah, it's about you pay about $700 for a 6800K, and it costs you about $500 for the 1700. Also, there's a big discrepancy in the motherboards. X99, as you know, Brian, aren't the cheapest to buy. So, I mean, you probably can get some deals if you go used in that, but I mean, as far as brand new, the Ryzen motherboards are the AM4, I should say, motherboards are a lot cheaper on average than both Z270 and X99.
But are they, though? Are they much cheaper than a Z270? From what I'm seeing,
the B350s are pretty
good.
The
B350s are, yeah. The B350s are hitting hard, but the actual X370s are kind of, I've seen the pricing, especially here in Oz, they're kind of in ways similar to a Z270s, so...
Yeah, they're getting up, but I mean, that's its own argument of what, is it really worth it for lots of people to get the X370, where the B350, man, seems like a pretty good deal. Yeah, I do agree with you. There's I'm just looking at some pricing now between the X370 and the Z270. There isn't a huge discrepancy, but with the B350 and Z270, then you're seeing a bit of a...
But that's what I want to see. I want to...
There's a B250 too, so you could go down to that as well if you want to add that into the argument, but even then it seems
that's not overclockable.
More favor.
Well, I want to check on the B350. Yeah. I want to get, because I got the Taichi in now, which is a really good X370 board. I want to get in a really good B350 board and then see if the overclocking makes a difference. Like, there's tests that I want to really do that are great for the end user, and we'll tell them, okay, go with this in this situation, go with that in that situation. That's what I want to get to the bottom of. I just want to do that trial and error. That's what I'm good at. Trial and error, test things out, and then I can make my recommendations based off that. That's sort of the testing I like doing. So I do want to get in a B350 that is sort of like heralded as the B350 to get, and then I want to pit that against the X370 to get, and then see which one is the better recommendation, especially with the 8 core. So we got here another.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. Oh, sorry. I just want to say. I think a lot of people are interested in that, and my next lot of Ryzen testing will be done with a B350 motherboard, most likely. Although I cannot confirm at this stage, it will be with Gigabyte's Gaming 3. So that will be quite interesting. But from what I've seen and read so far, and I guess you can comment on this as well, Brian, the B350s do seem like amazing value in terms of how much you pay to what features and stuff you get.
Yeah.
with the motherboard.
Well, that's
Very,
what I,
very
that's
good.
what I, that's what I was predicting. The B350 would be that sort of just what you want, if especially if you're a gamer, or even if you're like doing single end user work sort of thing. It's sort of like
Mm.
the singles motherboard, as opposed to if you're
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah,
making a business at home or whatever, you might want to go with an X370 or whatever. But the B350 just seems like it's for the solo user, hand solo. That's how you're going. So, but we got here the Vega 4096 stream processor, 8 GB of HBM memory, apparently according to a CSoft Sandra benchmark that was released here. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, these are kind of like the specs that we thought Vega would have, and it's looking like it will have these specs. So
yeah.
what do you think about this?
Um, well, yeah, it's still sort of early times right now. What we thought, 4096 stream processors, that if you guys can remember back, is the same amount as we got on the Fury X. So that's kind of good to see. 8 gigs of HBM2 memory. That's also good there. If you guys do not know, although I think most of you guys would understand what HBM is, I think that will make a big difference. As although GDDR5X with things like the 1080 Ti are getting pretty fast now, 11,000 megahertz. It's hauling
Yeah,
along. There's a lot of memory bandwidth
I
there, so I'm
mean,
not sure how much better it could be with HBM2.
yeah, I mean, dare I say that HBM is more for productivity, when you're using OpenCL and whatnot. But when it comes to gaming, I mean, yeah, the GDR5X is already out there. You're getting more of it on now a 1080 Ti, but the HBM, I don't think that's the biggest selling point with the graphics card. I think this, how fast those stream processors are on that 14 nanometer node is going to be the selling point. How much of a difference is there versus the Fury, which has the
Yeah.
same amount of stream processors? How good does it overclock? There's all these questions that people want to know. How good are the driver updates? How good are this and that? So what are we going to see out of this thing? How's it going to compete against the 1080 Ti now, which is out there in the wild? So really interesting times coming ahead. Can AMD
Yeah.
do it? Can they do a Ryzen? Can they be competitive? You know what I mean? Can they really bring it to think? Because they are. I mean, they are competitive with the RX 470 and RX 480, but they've got no competition at the moment for the 1070, 1080, and now the 1080 Ti.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's my prediction right now from all the specs I'm seeing and everything else is I think the top end Vega chip, which will be the Vega 10, I believe, is I think that will come in between the 1080 and 1080 Ti. And I suppose you could say slash Titan XP, but I don't think anyone's buying them anymore since the 1080 Ti came out. So I think it'll come in there. From what I'm seeing so far, I don't think it'll dethrone Nvidia as the GPU king. That GP 102 GPU is just phenomenally powerful. So I think they'll have a
It's a
hard
big
time
card.
trying to dethrone that. But yeah, to be competitive with the 1070, 1080, yeah, sure, I would 100% believe that. Judging by these specs, it really should be able to hit Nvidia in that area, and that's an area you want to hit as well. The 1070 is a very popular graphics card, so is obviously the 1060, but you always have the RX 480 competing against that. So to get in and try to take some sales away from Nvidia in the 1070 area would be very good from a money making perspective from AMD.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So I wonder how it plays out with VR and stuff like that too. So it'll be an interesting card to lay your eyes on. We're looking at Computex, yeah. That's about when it's going to be released. So
Yeah, sometime around there. And I'm not saying that the GDDR5X will have more memory. The 1080 Ti will have more memory bandwidth than Vega if it's running HBM2, but it is quite hard to say right now. But from everything I've read, it does look like the Vega card will have more memory bandwidth. But again, at the end of the day, how much is, I don't want to say too much, but how much is really that necessary, and how much of performance is more just about straight up raw GPU horsepower? we can talk a lot about the memory and stuff. But in terms of gaming, I'm not talking in terms of productivity, but just purely gaming. It's that raw GPU horsepower you really want. Would you agree with that, Brian? Or do you
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that,
exactly. You do want that. And then, of course, the memory, as long as it's doable, then it should be fine. I mean, an example of when the memory wasn't doable was the 660 Ti. Sort of like it came in with that, nerfed memory, whatever it was, the 192-bit wide bus there. And that caused problems in some games. Like, I remember that. So the 660 Ti was an example of where you had the horsepower, but you didn't have the memory set up to support the GPU. So
the memory bandwidth to flow it. Yeah, exactly right. So I mean,
you,
that's
you
definitely
came
not
out,
going to be a problem.
yeah, and you came out with I do have excuses. Mornings is where my brain just doesn't work, so excuse me in advance, guys. But this time around, HBM looks like it's overkill, if anything, very much overkill. So the GDR5X looks like it's that sweet spot at the moment. But again, HBM2 is going to be awesome. There's no reason not to love it, and it's going to be an extra thing. But does that add to the cost of the card considerably? I would say, I'd say yes. I mean, HBM would be in demand at the moment. HBM2.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, it's definitely going to be that'll be the thing, because at the end of the day, it's got to be priced, and the 1070 pricing I would still say is a little bit high, dare I say. So I think it'll be good if they could undercut them slightly, but we'll just have to see when it comes to performance as well. I mean, if it just blows the 1070 out of the water performance wise, then say the Vega 11 does, which it should. The Vega 10, depending on how powerful these cards are, then we'll see price wise. But this will be something they'll have to take into consideration. But I'm really looking forward to this. It'll be really good, and you guys should be as well. Even if you're the biggest Nvidia fanboy there is, you just will never touch a Radeon card ever. You should want this as well, because more competition is better. Makes Nvidia want to innovate more and really bring it even more with their GPUs, and also it'll help with pricing. The competition is always good. You really do want the competition.
I will say that the GPU market is where, over the last few years, we have seen massive gains. I mean, it doesn't matter how you got there.
Oh, there has been competition, yeah.
There has been massive gains. Sort of like the CPU market. What was that? You pulled that article up where it was the Sandy Bridge 2700K, was it, versus the 7700K, and there was like clock for clock a 20% difference. It was like, really? How many years has this been? And 5 years or something, we got 20%.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it is a good point, and Pascal was a big leap forward for Nvidia and for the GPU market in general. It was a lot bigger leap than I think a lot of people are anticipating, but it will be good to see AMD fight again at that with the top tier, the high-end graphics cards, with the RX 480 still doing very solidly as your value for money mid-range GPU. I very much think people often overlook it in favor of the 1060, which the 1060 is a fine graphics card. That's a very good graphics card. But you guys should know as well that the RX 480 is still very solid. When it launched, it had a few problems, but nowadays with all these driver updates they've been having, it's really, starting to bring it to the 1060. It's very competitive between those two graphics cards.
Yeah, well, sorry, just my cat interrupted the stream, man. He's a lovely little cat. If he keeps crying, I'm gonna have to just put him outside. So sorry about that. But, yeah, I didn't. Missed a little bit of that, but sorry, man.
It's all. It's just my point was the 480 and the 1060 have gotten more competitive over time, as opposed to when the 480 first launched.
Oh yes, they have. Very true. Yeah, look, this is the thing about the 470. I've been buying those things up in droves because the last 2 months I've been looking for graphics cards to get for builds that are, with CPUs that'll support that price point. And I can't find anything when you look at the comparable value of an RX 470. So I've just ordered in like 2 RX 470s. I got an Asus here, I've got the Gigabyte one, and they're just kicking ass. Like, people want $300 for an R9 290X here, 300 Australian dollars, and it's like you can get the 470 for 280 or something. So it's like, what the hell, man? You're
Wow.
getting a brand new card, you're getting warranty, and it's performing better, and it's using less power. Keep your R9 290X, bro. You know, like, it's just, that's the problem I've had lately. I've been looking for these used graphics cards, and they just haven't been good value. So I've just been buying RX 470s. They've been fantastic value for money. So, so I completely agree. The RX 470 and the RX 480 really hit the market hard. And in ways, I do prefer it now. Like, after using the RX 470, I do prefer it to the GTX 1063 gigabyte, because you get that extra gigabyte there. It's a really good balance, I think. That 4 gigabytes of VRAM is actually a really nice balance with the RX 470. That's what I like.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And I think that 3 gigabytes, I do think it's just a little bit too much. You know, certain titles will demand a bit more. And when you've got, like, when you're buying the latest graphics card, you do want it to perform in all your titles.
Exactly. It's getting a bit close at that 3 gig mark. But yeah, no, that's exactly right. Should we talk about the 1080 Ti?
Yeah, well, we'll quickly talk about this though. We've got the DX12 game ready drivers, quick performance loop. With the 1080 Ti launch, they brought out some driver releases that help fix the FPS and DX12 titles, interestingly. So we've got a rise here in Ashes of Singularity. Rise of the Tomb Raider and DX12 saw a huge increase there.
33%.
That was huge. Hitman Pro. So, I mean, a lot of people aren't using DX12 at the moment. I don't use it either. So, I'm kind of like, what's the point of DX12 at the moment? Because really, you just, a lot of the times you get crashing. That's the worst thing. It's not the performance. It's mainly the crashing. Whenever I switch to DX12 in a lot of titles, program has not responded, and you get Circle, it just crashes. Have you been finding that too?
No, my DX12 has been just fine. I played the entirety of Deus Ex and DirectX 12, and it seemed fine to me. But you do see that performance hits, which people have been complaining about for some time. So this is a good step. You know, obviously it doesn't fix everything, but it's good that Nvidia is aware of this, and hopefully we see this trend continue, and the DX12 performance then catch up, match DX11, because on some titles it's behind, and then surpass it. But of course we knew this would be a problem for a while with DirectX 12, but it looks like they're heading in the right direction, so that's really good. And
you sent me this article here about AMD Ryzen 5 1600X may beat Intel at its own game. I mean, the title there, may beat, of course. Anything may beat anything if it's not released yet. So
well, they're saying it's against the 6850K, which I know
that's
drives
right.
you crazy. But
we were talking about that just before. It should be the 6800K. So that was kind of a bit of a cherry-picked example there. I mean, even then, you've got 24 lanes, even on the 1800X, for example, or the R770, you still got 24 lanes versus 40 lanes on that, 6900K and whatnot. So that's still a factor. But of course, you look at the price differential there. It's like $700, 6900K versus an R7 1700. That's a huge price gap. So it's like, okay, you'll ignore the 16 PCIe lanes. But when you're looking at this sort of lower end comparison here, the R5 1600X, and compare it versus the 6800K, it's a more valid comparison, much more valid. The price is starting to come closer, and then you've got 28 lanes versus 24. So still got the extra 4 gigabytes of VRAMs, DDR4 slots, the DIMM slots there. So, yeah. Did you want to add more?
Yeah.
On the article?
No, I mean, we already spoke about this a bit earlier, but the 1600X looks like it's going to be coming in at quite the good price point, and I think that'll still be a very valid workstation CPU also, alongside the R7 series of CPUs, so that will be good also.
Oh yeah. Now we got 1080
the
Ti.
Zotac. Zotac 1080 Ti.
So we got some 1080 Ti's in the works. Yeah, I mean, which one looks like your favorite? I've pulled up the Gigabyte Aorus here as well, or they're going to be releasing a 1080 Ti Aorus, and there's the 1080 Ti from Zotac as well. I think I pulled up one from Inno3D as well, which looks pretty cool as well. I mean, so many cool things coming out. And the Inno3D one's got looks like a little fan on the VRM there too. So, so there's some crazy.
The other thing I noticed, the other thing I noticed is to look at the I/O on them. A lot of them have the DVI back.
Yeah.
Really took it off the founders.
Yeah, of course. That I mean, I like that DVI port. I use it for when I've got my second monitor up here for doing live streaming
Yeah.
or editing videos. It's really handy to have a DVI port anyway, so I utilize mine at the moment. I mean, keep in mind they do include that display adapter to DVI.
Yeah, the adapter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair game. I mean, 4 monitors is a lot to use. Like, that's a hell of a lot of monitor there.
Yeah,
So,
and exactly. And I mean, on a blower style cooler, you see even the Zotac blower cooler, they have the DVI removed, and that's just to help it exhaust that hot air out the back of your case just even faster. So I do understand there was a very good reason for doing it. Yeah, these Zotac ones look pretty good, and so the Gigabyte and a lot of them. And it wasn't a card that it ran fairly hot, as always with these 250 TDP, 250 watt TDP Nvidia flagships like we saw with the 980 Ti and before that as well. So this will be very helpful. But these cards, again, guys, are going to only appeal to the ultra enthusiasts. There's those guys out there that are just, they got a 1080 or something, and they're just like, man, I just need more power. And they'll be the ones going for these cards because they'll want to then overclock the 1080 Ti, and then that'll be an absolute beast. The performance is already ridiculous enough, as I showed in my videos, and it's fair as well. I was getting about 30% better performance than the 1080 on average, and it costs about 30% more. So
what about I'm getting one in pretty soon. What about overclock versus overclocked? Like, that's all I care about. Because they get the 1080s go to around 2.1 gigahertz to 2.1.
yeah.
What does the 1080 Ti go to?
I didn't do it because it was a borrowed card, which is I'm not allowed to. But the in the future, I should be able to get a 1080 Ti that I will be able to overclock a non-reference design, and then I will do a overclock versus overclocked one. But again, I wouldn't imagine, I mean, clock speeds out of the Founders Edition, 1080 Ti was already at 1860 megahertz, which is pretty decent. So I would imagine you'll be able to take them over 2000. And from memory, that was similar to what the 1080 got, Founders Edition. So yeah, I think that overclocking wise, they'll probably be quite similar to each other, the 1080 and the 1080 Ti. But of course, with all those extra CUDA cores that the 1080 Ti has, it's just in raw performance, it'll always be higher.
Yeah, so there we go, guys. Awesome stuff. So we'll move over to Q&A now. So we've got a heap of questions on the forums
great.
here.
We got a donation just as we move over to
Oh,
Q&A.
awesome, Jay. So we can start off the Q&A. And do you want to read out the question, Kev?
Yeah. It's I got a 7950 used, and it caught fire when I plugged it in, but it still works. Turns out one of the GPU VRMs blew. Ever have that happen to you? Personally, I can say that hasn't. What about you, Brian?
I've had a lot of weird stuff go on. Generally for VRM, something on the VRM blows out for me, the card's gone. Like, you have to fix it up. That's really weird. That's bizarre. Yeah, that doesn't make much sense. But
how's it still going? That's
yeah, like, dude, you gotta send this. You gotta take a video of this thing and show me. I mean, it could have been just like a piece of wire or something on the VRM, and because it catches fire, it blows off the piece of wire, and the card still works. I've had that before. You know, my little baby, he chucked. Like, it's just the weirdest thing that happened ever. He had this little thing in his hand. He picked it up, chucked it, and it like went through the front of the case like ninja. I don't even know how he did it, man. He just went like this perfect throw, and it just, I saw my GPU just go pshoot, and then the whole system just shut off, and it still worked. So I've had a motherboard in the past as well spark up as well. That's been fine. Computer parts are very sturdy, and that's what I've been saying in the past. They're very sturdy. So when I manhandle my parts, as long as I'm not like twisting the PCB or anything like that, because that's really dangerous. Don't twist the PCB, you'll shatter shit. Yeah, but as long as you like, you know, putting it down or whatever, or being a little bit rough, is I generally find it's absolutely fine with PC parts. I've never had a PC part break on me because I've been manhandling it. And
No, I don't think I have either.
so,
Memory.
yeah, but that VRM definitely sounds like that's a enigma, man. I'd love to see that thing. So please show me a video of it. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
quite crazy. Someone said in chat, manhandle my parts, Brian.
He has to donate.
Yeah, guys. So if you want to, if you want us to answer questions, and all the donations are, you know, it helps us out, and it's really great that you guys want to support us, and we'll answer those questions straight away if you donate with a question, or you can head over to the forums. We're going to answer some questions right now, and put your questions there.
So yeah, we got us from Coalition Gaming. Any chance of seeing old high-performance laptop CPUs pulled from dead gaming laptop carcasses and be turned into Frankenstein gaming PCs? I would do that if I could find the high-end laptop CPUs. I've been looking for a long time, and any laptop with an i7 on it, even if it's dead, has just been a rip-off. So it's like there's no sort of value added there. Of course, I'd love to do it for a, you know, muck around project, but it's just the actual price performance just wouldn't be there unless, of course, you got a laptop that someone just chucked away, which I'm yet to find with an i7 in it. So usually people like I remember my laptop died. I had an i5 in it. I pulled out the i5 and sold it for $200. Like, it was crazy because they fetched some good money. And then we got from the Canadian. He said, Brian, have you played with that Alibaba P55 board yet? So you have to send me a link. Which P55 board are you referring to? Because they have some good H55s on there. They got like the Asus board that's gone for $65. I bought the BioStar. That was mediocre. It still did the job, but it wasn't. The BIOS was pretty limited, and I was pretty annoyed that it couldn't get that top speed multiplier. BioStar, if you're watching, just release a BIOS update where you do enable the 20, even if it's 7 years later, who cares? People would want that. I want that anyway. So what do you do with your used computers after you've built them? I sell a lot of them actually. Get the cash back in for what I spent on them. So yeah, a lot of the used builds, they get hocked off after I'm finished with them, because this stuff starts piling up around here, man. I've got such a limited space to work in, so I actually have to sell a lot of it too. Otherwise, I'll be broke, bro. That baked beans that you see, man, it won't be just baked beans. It'll be like, used baked beans.
Oh, yuck.
Can't be happening, man. So, will the 1080 or 980 Ti be a better used bargain when people start offloading them for 1080 Ti's? Do you think that most people who will buy a 1080 Ti will have 1080s or 980 Ti's? Do you want to take this question, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, you probably know better about the used market than I do, but maybe it would be a hell of an upgrade for a lot of people going from a 980 Ti to a 1080 Ti. Although it would probably cost you a lot. I think you'll see some of those people. I would say quite a few people with 1080s might be upgrading to the 1080 Ti, especially 4K gamers like myself that just want a bit extra performance. They will go towards the 1080 Ti now because the extra performance in 4K was quite good. So you'll probably see that, but that's always the case with new. That's quite a general question. Whenever there's a new higher end GPU, then the other ones, people will sell them to upgrade, and then those ones get cheaper. So it's always a constant thing that's always moving forward with the newer GPUs coming out. Obviously, the older flagships and the card that used to be the most powerful.
I mean, 980 Ti's, yes, I think people will be offloading there. But if you have a 1080, I'm sure a lot of people are just going to wait for Volta now. Like, it's not that far off, surely. Volta would be maybe, 5 months off. So I'm guessing a lot of people will just wait for Volta. You get into that cycle. The 980 Ti users, I do see a few people selling their 980 Ti's and jump into a 1080 Ti. That's true. So yeah. And the pricing, the pricing's crazy. I mean, the GPU market's crazy for used price now. Like, it's all over the place. And of course, you can find a bargain, but it's usually from that person who knows what it's worth. He's like, okay, this card isn't worth that much. If I'm going to sell it, then I have to drop it significantly. And you just see so many graphics cards out there at the moment on the used market, and you're just like looking at the price, scratching your head. You're like, what the hell? I can buy a new, and it's better value for money. So yeah. Okay. Angari is answering questions. Don't answer the questions, man.
Yeah, it
For the
kind
show.
of confuses us when
Yeah.
you guys answer the questions that are meant for us
Yeah.
in the questions thread, because then
Yeah.
when we look through it, we get confused of what, we assume the questions are directed at us for the show, so we can talk about them together on the
Yeah.
show.
Angari does ask a good question though. If you get the 6 core, the R6, the R5 when it comes out, different SKUs,
Yep.
they'll probably be the same deal, all overclockable to the same levels. What difference does it make in editing times with a 6 core as opposed to 8 core? It's interesting because it's a weird thing with it's basically I edit in Premiere Pro, and Premiere Pro utilizes all your threads when you're like loading things into the program and stuff. So it will make things faster overall. But of course, on a 6 core with that much productivity on it, like the Ryzen 6 core and 12 threads, you're going to be able to edit videos absolutely fine. Like I doubt I would see much of a slowdown going from 8 cores to 6 cores in Premiere Pro. 6 cores to 4 cores, yeah, you might start noticing things, but I'd say the 6 core is really that sweet spot for Premiere Pro. Going up to 8 core, especially in the final render times when you've got 16 threads versus 12 threads, the render times will scale off a little bit because I think after 6 cores, 12 threads, the performance in Premiere Pro starts to scale off too. So interesting, but I'd say it doesn't make too much of a difference, especially if you're editing in Premiere Pro.
I mean,
That's just what I
can
found.
tell you. Yeah, I can tell you guys. I have the benchmarks up here. So a 6800K, so it's obviously the 6 core at 4.2 versus a 6900K at 4 gigahertz. So that's actually a little bit less. Encoding times in Handbrake, it was 3 minutes 42 seconds for the 6800K, 3 minutes 9 seconds for the 6900K, and the Cinebench multi-thread test seeing 1300 CB for the 6800K and 1658. So this with the 6900K. So all in all, basically, yeah, the 6900K will do better if it's better value. I mean, you pay a lot more for it. Probably not. It's a lot more expensive for that, but better productivity times, but it still does better. But yeah, I think the 6800K, I mean, it is the most popular Broadwell E chip. So that makes sense because it was very good value by comparison to the others, and the 6900K isn't particularly good value.
Yeah, well, we got another question here too. So we got the he wants to ask he's got the 1700 in, nice choice, the R7 1700, and he wants to check on the temps. Does the Ryzen master tell it correctly compared to other software out there? Like I used the Ryzen software for like 2 seconds. I looked at it, it was like, okay, this is like a BIOS in Windows, which I don't need. So I just uninstalled it. So I can't really tell you, but I just use Hardware Monitor. It's really good. You can see all the speeds real time. You can see all the how it's boosting, the max, the min. It's even got a temperature setting in there. So I think those temperatures in Hardware Monitor are more accurate, possibly. Again, I've actually because I'm building a new Ryzen PC, I've taken the old one and put it in pieces now. So yeah, I'll be doing some more testing. I just got to get through a lot of things. And that's what I mean. I'm waiting to do some really good Ryzen testing, and hopefully that update that fixes the SMT versus non-SMT discrepancy comes out as well. Whatever fix is applied. So
yeah. So that's very good. And the other part of that question was, what's a safe voltage to go to and not any higher for the Ryzen 7s? From what I have heard and been told, it's 1.45 volts is kind of where you kind of don't want to go higher than that. Really, you should be able to get whatever you want out of it by going up to about 1.425 area. So you really, I didn't see any need to really go above that.
Oh, sorry, I missed the safe voltages. I would say 1.35 is like that. That's the confirmed super safe level. at the moment.
Yeah, if he's only wanting to go to 3.7 on all 8, then yeah, you should be able to do that. But I mean, if you're wanting to take this to the max, then you might need to go up to 1.4 or 1.42 type thing to get the max out of it. But that depends of how it depends what type of overclocker you are. I personally always just take the chip to the max, the safe maximum, and just leave it there. And I've had good luck with my CPUs in the past, not having any problems, even though they've been sitting at quite high overclocks and voltages for quite a long time. But if you're someone that's, you know, not like me, not wanting that high risk, high reward type thing, or higher risk, then yeah, if you go to 3.7, yeah, I'm sure what Brian said, 1.325 or something like that.
1.35. That's what I found the sweet spot was for mine anyway. After that, you just things would start tripping out.
It adds a lot of heat.
Yeah,
as you start
after
going up,
1.35, diminishing returns really kicks in. So, is that extra 50, whatever the 50 millivolt, is that going to be worth the extra temperatures and whatnot?
Yeah. No, it is a good point.
Yeah, so that's how, guys. We'll wind down the questions there, and also any requests as well. Make sure you guys jump over if you've got questions for next week's Tech Lounge. Jump over to there'll be a new thread there. Questions for episode 19 of Tech Lounge. Sign up to the forums. Really cool place. Really awesome, and a new home for you guys if you need one just to discuss tech. No insulting each other and none of that crap. Really peaceful there. And also, as well, if you guys have got requests, be sure to drop a comment in the comment section below. And also be sure to check out Kev over at Tech Showdown. I'll drop the link in the description for his channel.
Yep. No.
And any closing statements?
Yeah, I just wanted to say if you guys want to see my Ryzen retesting, I'll be doing that. Hopefully sometime soon. We're just going to see how things play out. And yeah, just the last discussions in that thread. I was just reading through our questions thread, just been about the 1700 and people saying it's overclocking better than the 1700X. I haven't, I mean, some people are getting that, but to me personally, and from my own testing and other people I've spoken to, both tech reviewers and people in the industry, it seems like a lot of these Ryzen chips just seem to overclock around the same. Between 3.9 and 4.1 seems to be where they sit on all 8, and it doesn't seem to really matter much which one you pick, the 1700 or the 1800X. They all seem to sit around that area. So I think you're getting the 1700 is good. If you're going to someone that overclocks anyway, you should be able to get 3.9 on all 8. I
only got 3.85, dude. Like, I tested that thing rigorously, so I must have got a really early chip. I don't know, but yeah, mine only went up to 3.85.
I think it might get better with more coming out, and of course the motherboards will get better. I mean, rumor with the motherboard drivers, we had the BIOS drivers and stuff. The BIOSes themselves, I should say. Were not all three of us, me, you, and Steve, were having a lot of problems with the motherboards. So I think that'll get ironed out as well, and that should allow people to get a little bit more out of their Ryzen chips.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Tech Lounge, and we'll catch y'all next week. And peace out for now. I've got to get this thing up.
See you guys.
And see you guys next week. Peace out for now. Bye.